Yes, hello. Welcome to another edition of Triple M Footy's Midweek Rub. It is the final week of the home and away season. I can't believe we've made it. It's been a great year. There's still plenty to get into. We'll get into all the action and have a bit of a chat with all things footy as I welcome Dale Thomas, Damien Barrett, Wayne Carey. Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Good afternoon, Joey. Damo, Duck. Great to be here as always, and there's a lot going on. A big week of footy coming up, and last week as well, an awesome round of footy. You called the socks off one game in particular, so well done. But just a really good vibe around the place, isn't there?
He's on the rise, isn't he, Joey? He's just he's everywhere. He's going to be calling the Dapto Dogs next week. He's just he's just huge. But a lot going on. Some of it good and some of it bad, which I'm sure we'll talk about in your news, Damo.
We will, but we need to get to something before that. Doug. We need to get to your voice. We need to get to.
You're back.
You lost it last time we heard you on the M's on the weekend. You were struggling Saturday and you reappeared Sunday, but Julie, it wasn't ideal, Doug.
Caleb Daniel had it free kick.
Nothing fixes an injury quicker until the ball comes to you. As soon as the ball comes to you, you feel better.
You do. It's Caleb Daniel.
I'll stop talking now.
What is it about whenever this has been going on for far too long now, and I want to put a stop to it. Whenever I have some sort of ailment, and it's, well, it doesn't matter what day it is. It could be a Monday or a Tuesday, whatever, but I get something. I fall over, I cut away, or I have a bit of a croaky voice, and automatically
we always think you've been up to something.
The assumption is that I've been up to no good. I've been doing something. That happened, or I've had a big night out, or I got home at 3 in the morning, and I just go,
Duck, your reputation does precede you.
Like, how come that is the case?
Because you have a better social life than everyone. Generally, is that the case, though?
So that wasn't a 3 a.m. finish, too many gaspers and a couple of whiskies?
That wasn't 2 hours sleep rolling into the Saturday rub?
100%, absolutely not. And
might it have been in the past, Duck?
Cleanly, maybe in the past.
I would say that's how we get there.
Growing up.
A long time ago, I would have said, for instance, if it was a Saturday morning training session after a Friday night game, I would have said, yep, there's a reason for that. But not anymore. Those days are long gone. So can people stop making the assumption if I'm actually got something?
Are you okay?
I'm actually okay.
Good. Well, stop doing that. But then we always like to look at your attire because it tells a story every time we come in, and you're dressed to the hilt. You've got a beautiful suit on. So you're obviously going out for lunch. You're going on an interstate business trip, a cashier.
Flower drum last week.
Another one of these big long lunches? Or
it's actually a funeral.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay. So actually, one of our own, Anthony McConville, who's a player manager, very good friend of mine, managed me for a little bit when the chook went off the rails. And his father passed away, so I'm going to pay my respects. So that's why. So once again, you put a jacket and a shirt on, and
we've misjudged you.
Misjudged again.
Yes.
You're unfairly judged.
You are.
Well, hey, speaking of that, it was our
100%.
highest rating show last week, by the way, too, on the Midweek Rub. We got a lot of downloads, so we're going pretty well. But how good is the footy? Because
I'll try to come up with something every week.
Yes,
for
you do. You always got something for us. A bit quieter this week, but how good's the footy?
Unbelievable. You look forward to this round of footy, especially not only the Friday night game, which is top 4 on the line for one of the sides and a chance to drop out, but then how it's all set up for Sunday afternoon at the MCG, Carlton, Collingwood. This is sort of biblical stuff, and there's moments in time for Carlton-Collingwood games where they talk about them. If Collingwood end that Carlton run and a chance for them to play finals and knock them out, the Collingwood faithful will speak about this for decades to come. This isn't just a this week, this month sort of thing.
More so than what happens in the finals?
Oh, absolutely. They could not give a single stuff. This would be just a massive game. It's going to be
We're
huge.
doing that for the Sunday Rub. Make sure you're sober and not hungover. It's going to be an absolute cracker on Sunday.
A few fishermen's friends in the pocket, please.
By the way, if anyone's got 4 tickets for that game, I would like. You know what? You can be rated as right up there, and you still can't get even 4 tickets.
I'll tell you how hard it is, Duck. As the only man to play 100 games for both clubs.
If anyone can get tickets,
I got 2.
That's it.
That's it.
Yeah.
Well,
I need 4.
Well, we'll chat about that game later on because we want to dissect all the permutations, not all of them because there's too many, but round 23, we will get into it. We want to take a break because Damo, been a pretty quiet week in the AFL world this week. Let's take a break. We get into all the latest with the Alastair Clarkson situation. We'll get your take. That's coming up next on Triple M Footy's Midweek Rub. Straight into it, all the latest news. We are speaking at about 12 o'clock on Wednesday afternoon. Where does it sit with Alastair Clarkson and particularly Essendon at the moment?
Yeah, Joey, and it is important for those people listening to it maybe later on this afternoon. We are talking at midday, and it's a story that's already moved in so many directions since basically Sunday days when we learned after the loss by the Bombers to Port Adelaide, that the horrendous 84-point loss, that they'd actually had a board meeting before that game, and then they had another one the morning after it. So that just set in motion a chain of events that has got Alastair Clarkson into the conversation about coaching Essendon. And as we speak, that's the option I feel is the favoured one. But again, that's just my opinion on it. That's not based on him about to tell either North Melbourne or Essendon what he's going to do, because he's got the complete whip hand now. We learnt yesterday through GWS saying publicly, effectively, that he had removed himself from those considerations, and that obviously meant that North Melbourne's confidence this time last week was well placed and had been well placed all the way up to basically Monday morning, when this board went down the path of David Burham taking over Paul Brasher as president of the Footy Club, which then put into the whole jeopardy of Ben Rutten's status. And how that's played out, I'm keen to get your views on all of that, given you've had situations yourselves with coaches in these moments and how he's been treated.
I don't think anyone's ever. I can't ever remember in my time a coach that's been given so much, I guess, fanfare about being able to choose where he wants to go, and had so many clubs sort of want his services. And he's been sitting in waiting for a year. We know all of that. So this has never happened in my time. I don't know about you guys or anything similar in your time, Damo, but this is very unreal circumstances for me. I'd be very surprised if Alastair Clarkson was a fair way down the track with North Melbourne. I'd be very surprised, knowing Clarko and knowing the way he conducts himself. I'd be very surprised if he did a backflip. I know a lot of people think he will, but I'd be surprised if he did a backflip, just knowing what type of character he is.
Just on the timeline, because that's all we can work with at the moment. There was an expectation from North Melbourne across the weekend, Duck, and you've got obviously the same level of information coming out of there as best you can, that today, Wednesday or Thursday, was going to be the day that he gave an indication to them. Now the indication was expected to go their way, but that was before the advent of the Essendon situation, and it's just pushed everything back. A minimum of 48 hours, and I wouldn't at all be surprised, just the way the drama is and the way that James Henderson, who is as high-end a manager of talent in this country of sports people, across the board, all sports, he's not going to negotiate the absolute best deal. And what that looks like and how it looks and who it's with is going to be something that they can't do quickly. So that's my take on this. I still expect us to be talking about this over the course of the weekend.
So does Ben Rutten, is he expected to coach this week? Because that is, or has been, arguably the greatest show of disrespect to any current coach.
Yep.
For as long as I can remember. Someone who's been appointed to do a job, see, yes, your job's safe, you still got a year to go on your contract, and then all of a sudden, no, this isn't the case. We're openly shopping your job around, but still, we expect you to roll out this week. It has been absolutely shocking what they've done to him.
It's untenable to me, no matter what happens with Clarkson, that they've gone outside the contract that they've got and the commitment they've given to him in conversation as well as contract.
So why wouldn't they make the call then? If he's not your guy, why
because they haven't got Alastair to say yes.
Would that turn Clarko off? Given the way they've done this, Essendon? Well,
that's what I'm curious to know. And Damo, I want you to get your take. So Clarko, we know, he's taken his time with North Melbourne and GWS, met them a number of times, done 3 or 4 weeks of due diligence. How then does he make a decision on Essendon, who's probably a harder case to work out where they're at, who's in the positions of all the off-field situations?
Off-field, you'd say they're in a worse situation.
So you're saying
this just goes to show it.
Look, you could mount the argument that they are in as big a mess as North in some respects, off the field.
Absolutely. Yep. They've just had the president step down.
Yeah. And years and years and years of ineffectual finishes on a ladder.
So can he decipher all that in 3, 4, 5 days? Alastair Clarkson to make a decision?
What does happen is, and as much as what you're saying, is it a good look? If the job's available and if he's being told it is, and that's our understanding now, it's available to him right now if he wants to say yes, we move on pretty quickly, don't we? We move on pretty quickly. And if he determines that Essendon, in his eyes and his stage, is a better fit, it's going to be forgotten what happened, unfortunately, for Ben Rutten and how ugly it's got this week. We're a move-on industry very quickly.
Yeah, I feel really sorry for Ben Rutten.
Oh, no, that's not to say that. Not to say that.
For the first time, I think the way he's conducted himself, well, the way he conducts himself, full stop, is exceptional. But I think the way for the first time when I saw him sitting on the bench when the siren went the other day, Joey, I could see the pain. There was real pain behind his eyes, and you could just he looked lost for the first time. And I know he's a pretty laid back, pretty calm sort of guy, but he looked lost for the first time. And this whole week, I agree. I really feel sorry for anyone. You don't want anyone to lose their job.
No.
And you just I feel sorry, just like I did David.
But when you have to front up and pretend that everything's fine, that's the worst thing. So he's doing it, and he has to conduct himself with all the uncertainty to a group to try and get them up one more time against an arch rival in the Tigs to play on a Saturday night, full well knowing all the players know what's going on. Everyone knows what's going on. So he's coming up with this false image almost when he probably would rather be in the corner, feeling how he should be, and rightfully so, which is pretty down in the dumps.
In the immediate term for that game, it can go two ways. The playing group, if they still are a bit connected, right, can they get that an emotional response and actually lift and try and play really well, knowing that it's his last game as a coach, or they can completely fold and not even go out there and just be witches hat, which I hope won't happen.
When this happens to you, did you hear Brett Rutten speak during the week and speak about how that it affected him and how he, thought he let everyone down, his assistant coaches, people that he hired, even down to PAs.
People he brought to the club.
All of those things that he'd let down. I mean, it doesn't just affect Ben Rutten. It affects a number of people's lives, and yet there's almost barracking. That's what I don't like. I don't like when there's barracking for, someone to be stood down or sacked.
Yeah. Damo, is it a big risk for Essendon? Because there's been a bit of talk that, Kangaroos, have they done the right thing going all in on Clarko? But this could really backfire on the Bombers badly if he chooses the Kangaroos over Essendon.
Yeah, look, they'll take the view that whatever happens had to happen, and they'll validate it, and they'll probably retrofit the outcome to say that we had to make a change. And we had to make a change. We had one shot at getting Clarkson, and the only shot we had, because we left it so late, was to do it the way we did it. Again, you know footy clubs, Joey, that they can line up excuses and reasons, whichever way they want to see, and they will. And that's what will happen here. So they're one chance, though. And look, the connections are reasonably deep. When David Burham is a close personal contact and I'd say even friend of James Henderson, who's Alastair Clarkson. That's not to say that they're going to get the front running on it, but there's a starting point there.
Is there a chance, guys, that Ben Rutten could be still coaching Essendon next year? So if Clarkson does choose North Melbourne, I hope he does.
Yeah.
If he does, then is there a chance that Ben Rutten fulfills his contract and has one last crack at it next year, and then who knows what happens? Let's be honest. If they did do that and he was strong enough to say and then took him to the finals next year, he probably gets an extension.
Yeah, no, he couldn't. No, that can't happen.
You reckon it can't happen?
No.
There's not even a slight.
I don't think not even just him, even just with the playing group. It would be there'd be too many.
Not 1 in a million.
1 in a million.
Okay, we'll give you 1 in a million.
So you're telling me there's a chance.
But there is a slight chance. But and to me, I'm still slightly surprised the overreaction with sacking Ben Rutten. They played finals last year. Yes, they got it horribly wrong at the start of the year, and I think they lost confidence at the start of the year because of the draw they had. They played the top 4 teams, I think, the first 4 or 5 rounds of the year. They lost confidence. They fell away. I thought they did a pretty good job to regroup and win 5 of 7. Should have been 6 of 7 if they won that West Coast game.
And the other game was after the siren.
That's right.
Loss in
Collingwood.
That patch,
so they actually had regrouped and were playing. They hadn't played perfect. They still had massive issues defensively, but I thought they were making some progress. I liked their list. I was a bit surprised that they haven't gone with Rutten again, but they're all in.
If you're Clarko, who are you going to?
See, it's a hard one because I still think it depends on what his priorities are as a coach. Because if you're going, who's got the better list? I think Essendon have got the better list.
Surely his priorities are premierships.
Not necessarily. I think it's more than that. Kangaroos can win a premiership,
Mate,
but it might just take a bit longer.
Remember,
I think it's been a bit of a too simplistic view that Clarko is just going to choose whichever list has got the best list, and that's all it comes down to.
But on that aspect, you are in this list space heavily. Heavily. You're saying Essendon.
Essendon has a better, probably 2 or 3 years advanced on the Kangaroos. But as I've said, I like the Kangaroos up 24 and unders. They've got a lot of young talent that still need to be harnessed. We're seeing like Luke Davis-Uniacke now, what he's finally capable of doing. Imagine if you get the best out of Taron Thomas and Dawn Francis.
You've got Larky, you've got Mackay. You've got a couple of pillars at either end. It's not as bad as what that we thought.
The shift in Clarko's mindset, though, from the opportunity and the understanding that North Melbourne is pretty much a rebuilding job and you're going to be the man to set them on their way with arguably no success in that 5-year period, or to play finals would be a good result.
No pressure with the North Melbourne job because there's only one way. And
but correct, but there's now a shift in the mindset, which is the carrot that comes with Essendon, that they are completely different. There's the chance of the ultimate success again. And for someone like Clarko, who absolutely thrives on that, we know that he's a true competitor.
And so wouldn't a true competitor love the challenge of taking a team from
Correct.
the bottom of the ladder to a premiership?
Absolutely
that is the
not.
ultimate. No.
Yes.
What,
So take the easier option and go, well, this list is closer, I'll just jump with them.
Yeah, because
An
you're a
ultimate
chance to win a premiership. You're not there to get a team to finals.
Yeah, but I don't think you get as much credit for just taking over the Bombers. I don't think you do.
Okay.
To your point about the options that were in front of Alastair Clarkson officially until Monday, they in an ideal world didn't appeal to him in a massive way. But what was overriding everything was his need to coach again next year. He was going to go completely stir crazy. So he had two options at that stage. He's now got, to your point, a powerful club in the mix. It's a
full circle.
interesting scenario
It's a full
that's been
circle
added
for
late.
Clarko. This is a club that gave a country kid a go. And what's ironic about the whole situation?
It also let him go pretty quickly too, Duck.
John Kennedy was a legend. John Kennedy was a legend at Hawthorn and came to North Melbourne to give them credibility back in the late 80s. And he did that. And Clarko was just a kid under John Kennedy. Now it's almost reversed, and a full circle come back to the club. I think it's a beautiful story.
We know where you're lying. Are you Essendon, you believe, closer to a flag, but who would you like to see Clarko coach as we wrap this up, Daisy?
Well, I think as someone who's played at Carlton and Collingwood, I'd love to see him go to North and for the Essendon show to continue as an absolute bonfire. But I honestly think if he's weighing up the two, I think he goes to Essendon.
Yeah, as a North supporter, I want him at North.
Yeah.
But my gut feel is that the Essendon offer, as we speak at 12:00, whatever it is today on this Wednesday, that it's Essendon leading.
I think it's still the Kangaroos. I would love to see him the Kangaroos. I just wonder how invested he already was with the Kangaroos in regards to going through their list and having or maybe his heart is already in at the Kangaroos. He's been flattered by the Essendon offer, but I hope he chooses the Kangaroos. But we'll find out. Who knows when. Hey, we might take a break. We'll get into all the other topics on the Daisy Duck Dive after this. This is Triple M Footy's Midweek Rub. This is Triple M Footy's Midweek Rub. And before we get into the Daisy Duck Dive, Damo, we didn't get the chance to touch on the Zaine Cordy bump. Is the bump back? First of all, Paddy Cripps got off.
So
now Zaine
facetious.
Cordy, he's got
It's back.
What's going on? Did the AFL have any idea what you're allowed to do and what you can't?
No, they don't. They don't. It
So
was
how
a
are we meant to know?
Exactly. And it was a complete mess last week when the umpire, the match review office, the tribunal, and then the appeals tribunal all had varying degrees of what Cripps did on Archie. The appeals tribunal, being the last stop, ended up clearing him, which I think confused the messaging. We then get to the very next round of footy where Zaine Cordy bumps Tanner Bruin. I would say 100% fairly.
As fairly as you can do it.
The match review office didn't have the boxes to be able to be ticked to then wash their hands of it and send it to the tribunal, which said there's nothing to see here. Thankfully, I think.
That was the confusing thing, why it got sent straight to
But
the
Because he got concussed.
Surely if there's no boxes to tick, though, because you're not going on the concussion,
Yes.
you're going, okay,
On the act.
The
The
act
act.
is, he bumped him, he
Not
did
the
it
outcome.
perfectly.
Duck.
There's nothing to see here. No suspension.
Well, if there's no boxes to tick on the
Correct.
starting
It's
point
on
of
the
the
action.
adjudication,
That's right.
get rid
Nothing
of
to tick
that
on the
There
system.
was nothing to tick on the action. That's
Is
right.
that system dead?
That system has to be dead. I mean, it just has to be dead because of what's happened in the past 2 weeks.
It's
And-
creating more confusion,
Yep.
and it was put in to create clarity.
Correct.
Oh, what a shamble.
It's got lost in the COVID problems post-season, and I understand why they haven't been able to fully explore what they wanted to do with it. But now they have to, at the end of 2022, deal with it.
A lot of the rules and these sorts of things, has the silence been deafening from the AFL this year? We haven't heard from anyone for the whole year, from the AFL, from any umpiring department, anyone in the football department at the AFL.
You've got no idea the amount of pressure that comes from the umpires' representatives when it comes to admitting mistakes. And I get that. I absolutely get that.
Just
So
for clarity.
Last time we
for
heard
clarity,
from-
it probably helps the cause, yeah.
Last time we heard from Brad, what we heard was, well, if they do that, it's going to be a free kick.
That's arms out for those listening.
That's the
on
last
radio.
time. That's the last time. Yeah, sorry. we are filmed as well.
Yeah, we are.
But that's the last time we heard from Brad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
Hey, let's get into it. The Daisy Duck Dive Quick Five.
On the Midweek Rub,
Absolutely outstanding by me.
I'm good from the waist down.
it's the Daisy Duck Dive.
I'm going to start with acknowledging this week Patrick Dangerfield game 300. Congratulations to him, one of the all-time greats. He's an absolute superstar. Chasing that elusive flag, he's never going to have a better chance than this year to win it. But I want to ask you, Daisy and Duck, where does Patrick Dangerfield rate in regards to the all-time greats? Where do we rank him?
All
Great
time
question.
or modern?
How would you like to do it? Modern great. Okay, the modern greats. It's hard to do from the all-time great. Where does he rank in the modern era? Is he top 10, top 20? Top 50?
2000s. comfortably, I could say top 50. In that top 20, I don't think I could probably slot him in my top 10. We're talking from 2000 era, your Vosses, Harveys,
Buckley, Hurd, Ackermanis,
Goods, Judd, all of these.
Ablett, Franklin, Dusty.
That's where it becomes interesting because then does it go beyond 20? And which
that's what I just asked you. I asked you.
That's what I'm thinking.
Oh, sorry.
I'll be
thinking out loud.
I did give you a quick time in the ad break to try and think about.
I'll be succinct. I'll be succinct and answer it like this because the rules were different back in 2000, so they've changed all the way along. So there's a lot of differences between 2000 and where we sit today. So I don't think it's very hard to compare that time to now. What I will say is this: the word champion gets thrown around far too easy. He's a champion. He's a champion of the Geelong Footy Club. He's a champion of the AFL, 100%. And he's a walk-up start for the Hall of Fame.
100%. Yep.
So I'll just leave it at that.
Yep. Very good.
What about an answer as to where in the top 25 or?
Well, because I think that I've always said
you think that's disrespectful?
You just can't compare eras. You can't compare
that's why we just
today.
kept it to this era.
Well, if you kept it to the last 3 years since we've had Stand on the Mark and we've had all these, then maybe we could do it.
All right.
But the rules have changed so much, I just don't think
too hard.
What about another?
I need more time to think before it becomes disrespectful, and I don't want to do that.
That's fair enough. Yeah, I'll put you on the spot. That was a hard one. I'll admit
Absolutely.
that. Then what about this
It's a good
next
question,
question?
though.
Well, you know what? Can I just?
Because you could be in the top 5 if you wanted to mount the case.
I was
and
actually
equally,
thinking,
you could put him outside the top 20. To your point,
when I asked it, I was thinking top 10, and then when Daisy threw up some names, I went, "Oh yeah,
I want to say
hard
this
to get in
about-
the top 10."
I want to say this about Paddy as well, and Joel Selwood's in the same boat. There's a few others. To get to 300 games the way he plays is just remarkable.
Yep.
He has been a battering ram. His attack on the footy is as good as anyone I've ever seen.
Yep.
So to get to 300 is unbelievable. Well done, Paddy.
And fingers crossed he gets that
Well
tattoo,
said.
the tattoo that he's been chasing, Daisy. Speaking of champions,
Would he get a tattoo? I don't think he would.
Is that barbed wire on the bicep? Troy Makepeace style.
I want to ask about Robbie Gray. Speaking of champions, Robbie Gray retiring this week. He has been absolute champion, and we won't try and rank him where he sits. But I do want to ask in regards to Port Adelaide's all-time greats. Is he Port Adelaide's greatest ever player, Daisy? Because I think he is.
Jeez, you're making me rank a lot of players.
I think Robbie Gray's Port Adelaide's
I'm going to
greatest
say
ever
Warren
player.
Treadgrave
He's the greatest ever small forward mid that Port Adelaide have ever had. Once again, I don't compare positions and eras again, but he, once again, is a Port Adelaide champion and also an AFL champion.
It's hard to go past Treadray.
Hall of
isn't
Fame.
it? I feel because of the 2001 to 4 period when he was All-Australian. In that time when Jonathan Brown was emerging, Nick Riewoldt was obviously in the system younger.
Yeah. It was
But
4 years in
he
a row.
was the 4 years in a row.
He's had
pretty hard to
moments.
do.
We talk about Noodles Brown as the best player for a 6-week period. He's probably had 4 or 5 of those throughout his career where he's arguably been the best player in the comp for a month at a time, winning games off his own boot.
Yeah.
He's been an absolute star, and again, a champion of that footy club.
It's been a huge year for some absolute champions of our game.
Good
going
crew,
out, hasn't
good
it?
crew. And he's been one of my favourite players. I've absolutely loved watching Robbie Gray, and also to Shane Edwards. Congratulations to him on his retirement. He'll play a final, so we'll acknowledge him in due course. The next question I want to ask, big decision looming at Carlton, I think, this weekend in regards to their ruck situation. So Marc Pittonet's played 2 games back. Hasn't set the world on fire. He was struggling a little bit in the Melbourne game.
He looked like he's
Do
been
Carlton
set on
go?
fire.
This is a huge call. This is season on the line stuff, Daisy. Do they go with Marc Pittonet again and trust him that he's had a couple of games under the belt, that he improves and takes on a fast Collingwood side that's going to be pinging around? Or do they go back to young Tom De Koning, the precocious talent who held up pretty well for a majority of the season when Pittonet was injured?
The Koning for me.
Yeah, I think what you've seen on the weekend from Pittonet, you can't, with any confidence, go in and say he's going to provide a real difference in this game. De Koning, I think you can mount the case. Pittonet was like, he was plodding on the weekend. He probably shouldn't have played, arguably. Was he the difference in them losing? Probably not, but he wasn't at the level that you're required to roll out in a game that you have to win. De Koning, I think, is the option.
Okay.
Unfortunately, if there's any doubt, I go athletic ability over.
Right. Over just maybe the trusting the competitiveness of Pittonet more?
No, I'd play De Koning.
There are some real issues. Chera coming back in, slightly injured. The talk of Zach Williams after coming back from a long-term calf as well.
That's a big risk coming off after that.
There's a chance to be rolling the dice on 3 or 4, which isn't great.
No next week, though, is there?
That's right,
There's
though.
no next week.
I know, but you
Without
can't.
winning. But if you go down at quarter time, you roll these blokes in injured and they don't come up.
Yeah.
This is where the sub comes in handy. Maybe you play Zach Williams, and if he can't play out the game or he's only got 2.5 quarters in him, you sub
Or
him
maybe
out. No one's going to care if you sub
maybe
him
you
out
played to
anymore.
Koning and have Pittonet as your ruck sub.
Hey, last one I want to ask. This is a bit of a hypothetical I thought about. I like this question, so see how you go.
Oh, you
Love
bet.
it.
You're
So
So
pre-marked.
there's a bit of talk about Michael Hurley and whether he will play on at Essendon. If he's asked, he can play this week and play a final game of footy, but that's it. It's a finality. He's done. Or he says, no, I want to see if I can get another year and see what the new coach thinks and whether I can hang around and doesn't get the game. If that was you, what would you choose? Would you take one more AFL game but be told that that's it, your time's up?
Great question.
Or don't have a game but and hang on to the hope that maybe you get another year at the club?
If I was him and everything he'd been through, obviously I had some injuries and the toll that takes on you, not to the extent of the seriousness of what he went through, I'd be taking one and just waving and saying,
Would you really?
I'm going to put my feet up.
Seen as though it's a hypothetical.
It is a hypothetical.
I'd play the game and then say I want to go on for a year.
Play the game, get best on.
And then say I
A
want to
famous
play.
victory.
Always thinking laterally. That's why
It
we
always
love
wants more.
Always wants more. Hey, very good. Well done. Nice edition of the Duck Dive. Let's take a break because we want to get stuck into all the action from round 23. That's coming up next on Triple M Footy's Midweek Rub. This is Triple M Footy's Midweek Rub, and let's get into all the action from round 23. But just quickly, we'll look back. We all tipped Brisbane to beat St Kilda. We all knew Melbourne would beat Carlton. That game was never in doubt. We all tipped that one. And Sydney Collingwood, well, we were 50-50. Let's see how Damo and Duck went. Last one, we'll take a look at Sydney Collingwood at the SCG.
Sydney at home.
Ooh, bubble burst, you reckon?
Yep.
Bubble going to burst this week?
Bubble to burst this week.
Joey, in a week where I finally came around to realising Collingwood is a premiership hope, I'm still going to tip against them. Swans.
You've been on the Swans all year, so stick with them.
I've got to stick with him.
Very good.
Very
Bubble
good.
did burst. The question is, has it burst? Because let's get into Carlton Collingwood Sunday, this massive game that'll decide whether Carlton play finals and whether Collingwood finish top 4. Is the bubble burst for good, Duck, or was it just a little pop and they can bounce back this week? Who are you tipping?
I'm a romantic, so I'm tipping Carlton in this one. I think that'll stay popped.
Okay. That'll set up probably Collingwood maybe to play Richmond first week of finals, elimination final.
I just think the way Carlton played last week really impressed me, and I think that maybe the bubble has burst a little bit for the Pies. So I really do want Carlton to play finals footy. I think they deserve it.
Yeah, I'm the same, Duck, and I've had the same view of Carlton with you all year, and I think their best is better than Collingwood's right now, and as such, if they replicate what they did against Melbourne, and that's the big if, but if they do, they'll beat Collingwood.
This game excites me. Thanks,
Captain Obvious.
But no, just in terms, Joey, because did Carlton play their grand final last weekend against Melbourne? They threw everything at them for the chance to lock it away, so it didn't come to this. These are the great unknowns going into it, not just because of everything else we've spoken about. I think Carlton will win. I'll be tipping them.
Yep.
But I just can't wait to watch the scenes at the ground because I'm talking sort of like EPL setup flares and people just going.
No, don't encourage that.
I'm not encouraging it, but you could see it happening.
Yeah, look, I'm the same. I would love to see Carlton play finals. I think they deserve to. They've been in the top 8 all year. It would be heartbreak if they miss out. I want to see them play.
That's why the Pies fans want to roll them so much, not just because of the historical value of this game, but that them being the reason they miss out. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, there was a symbolic moment I saw walking off the ground for Carlton. So you ask, can they do it again? There's this vision of Michael Voss and Paddy Cripps shaking hands, looking at each other, and both sort of chest up, leading the group off the ground. Right. And I just thought, there's 2 leaders there that these players want to play for. I'm with you, Damo. If they can produce anything like they did last week, they win.
Very good
I just look at those 2 leaders and think, you know what? They'll get Carlton back up.
I like that.
Voss,
I saw that as well, and I liked it.
Yeah, so
I liked it.
We'll all cheer for the Blues. What about Brisbane, Melbourne? Because this is the other huge game that'll decide who finishes top 4 and who misses out in the top 4 for a double chance. Brisbane, Melbourne at the Gabba.
I've got Brisbane in this. I'm just looking at Melbourne as the team that has only won 5 of its matches since round 10 this season, Joey. So I'm not looking at them as the reigning premier and the team that won the first 10. I'm looking at them as a relatively ordinary team in the back half of this season, and as such, Brisbane will beat them.
I'm going to say Melbourne are going to flex their muscle.
Okay.
I'm with you, Duck. I believe what they did against Carlton and how that game was played, how they won, I reckon they get great confidence from that. And we saw the scenes in the rooms afterwards. That's as much joy as you've seen from that Melbourne group, arguably since they won that grand final. I reckon they get a real juice of confidence from that, a bit of mojo back, and I think they win this one.
What a weekend again. So that's the 2 bookends.
Yep.
I mean, that one on the Friday night
yeah.
and then the Carlton Collingwood.
What are you doing?
Brisbane are a completely different team at home. They are 18-2 in their last 20 games at home.
Are you saying they can't play the MCG?
I'm saying at the Gabba, they are a different team. You have to look at them. I think they win. I think Brisbane at the Gabba, Friday night, crowd going off its head. I can just picture Charlie Cameron and all they'll be running mad. They'll be going mad. They'll be too good for Melbourne. I think Brisbane win.
Yep.
Okay.
What about the other game, the Western Bulldogs Hawks? Dogs have to win to play finals. The Hawks, it looks like they've checked out late in the season. Dogs surely get it done in Tassie.
Tapering off for me, the Hawks. So I think the Dogs.
And injuries too with Jarth and Lewis out officially, some weeks ago. I'm with you on this, Dogs.
Haven't beaten the Hawks down there since 2008 and a 1-4 against them down there.
Hawks have been an amazing team, and down there.
Yeah, it's a good start. That's why I'm tipping the Western Bulldogs.
Okay. Just one I want to flag, because I want to flag. We're doing this show through the finals, aren't we, Jill? Yeah, we'll keep rolling. Yeah. I want this one put in the Oracle.
Oh, here we go.
North Melbourne will beat Gold Coast this week at Marvel Stadium. Big outsiders. I think Kangaroos get the job done.
Okay.
I liked what I saw from them.
Okay.
Like Luke Davies-Uniacke I'm not saying become. He's now a star of the competition.
Yeah.
He is elite.
He has to win the best and fairest, doesn't he?
Jai Simpkin would still be, I would think, have to go
Early
close.
okay.
Probably
Yeah.
more consistent.
Right.
I think
they'll be close between those. Those two, both of them. With Cunnington back next year, all of a sudden the midfield with Cunnington, Simpkin, Davies-Uniacke, and then you've got Thomas and Horn-Francis rolling through.
If they get their acts right, those two.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's plenty to
I think
like.
this is a big game for the Gold Coast Suns. Just a nice little exclamation mark on a year where they have improved, didn't make finals, and
Have
we
they?
It'll be their highest ever. It will be their
I
highest
know
ever
that you
finish.
hate them and you don't like Stewie Jujamo, and you've been very big
How
on
many
that.
games have they won since they recontracted him?
Yeah,
Daz?
not many.
One.
And as we've spoken about, we are in the game of win-losses, but this is a game. If they win and get some confidence and then set themselves up, if they don't make finals next year, I'll put it on. I'll go early with you. I will come with you that they're a disappointment and they shouldn't have signed Stewie Ju. As it stands right now, this is a big game for them
Damo
going
still thinks
forward.
they should maybe look at sack Stewie
Do
Ju
you reckon
this
they
week
should
and go
get
for
Clarko?
Clarko.
Can I just finish off?
That's a
Port
joke.
Adelaide.
Yep.
I reckon Robbie Gray will win his 6th showdown medal
There you go.
in the
I
showdown.
like it. The
That'd be a good
Oracle.
one,
Very
Dave.
good. Hey, another great edition of Triple M Footy's Midweek Rub. Of course, you can listen to every game this weekend, exclusive on the Listener app. And, of course, Friday night is the massive game between Brisbane and Melbourne. The Friday Huddle boys will call that one. Das, Howie, Brownie, Damo and the Chief. Looking forward to it. Thanks for listening to this week's edition of Triple M Footy's Midweek Rub.